The first poem is my Christmas poem to you from last year. What can I give you? Those flowering apple trees you gave me back then, and all the rest, have grown and spread. By now, Philomene, after more than a decade and a lustrum, the great blossoming forests, the seas of fire and lustrous milk, they stun and overwhelm me. This Christmas, what can I find to give you back? I have a poet's pockets still, not even money for a quart of Coors. So tonight, what? Let me dig and see. 64 cents, a door key, and a gap-toothed comb, and, well, I already gave you my whole heart all those years ago. It beats on and on inside me, Philomene, but it is yours. It is. White Horse Canyon. Portents, strange groupings of birds he cannot identify. The cliffs, the canyon, and the long-abandoned city far up it in the notch. He will never see them now, he fears, but only the numbered views in an old packet of faded postcards. And the cards, are they too gone? Did he ever hold them, staring with that immense longing? Portent of the dead bee. At noon, a coppery smell. He will never see the city now, never walk in the dust of the empty lanes beneath the walls. Portents. Earth tremors noticed only by him. Odd, small thunders far off. He stands before the mirror and stares at himself, sees nothing but a large broken window. He will never place his foot in that city. Small credo. After nearly 60 years in this diseased outpost, I don't believe in very much, but I do firmly believe in mysterious disappearances and in the spontaneous combustion of certain human bodies while sitting quietly and alone at night in their shabby easy chairs. When I was a child, it rained. I sat by the window reading about Byzantium. The rain poured down. Byzantium, it fell Turks in the 15th century on a Tuesday. It rained when I was a child. In the grape arbor, the flies waited all day on the undersides of the big leaves. It rained. A horse stood wet and motionless in a muddy field. Nothing else, nothing, only the rain told a child the truth. When I was a child, it rained. On Utah Street downtown, a beggar sat against the wet market wall. His tin cup was half full of rainwater. Treatise on beauty, its sudden delight, its tricks, its joy and tortures. How stunning this hummingbird, a thrum of green and ruby, sipping nectar. Or refine it more, the great blue morpho, retinor or aculeus or cyprus. Its broad blue wings floating, dipping down a silent path between huge dark tree walls in Amazonas. It can amaze, delight the heart, but then, by the muddy creek bank, a fluttering carpet of morphos dining on the ooze of rotting meat. And this other thing, this bluebottle, a glitter of bright metallic blue, busy with its congeners, feasting on garbage, laying little white eggs in excrement, so sharply repulsive, the bluebottle. Where, in my mind, hides the difference? Or make it burning and sinister? In sunny Spain, small and gorgeous green-gold insect, Litta vesicatoria, family Meloidae, daintily nibbling on leaves of ash and privet, the blister beetle, Cantharidin, yes, Spanish fly. Dried, ground to powder, tinctured, and a tiny taste tickles and inflames the tracts, ignites the flagging passions. But just a little more can bring wretched, agonizing death. Where were we? Was this all about my mind, my gorgeous waking mind, which is really not my own, and that asleep my ugly dreams inherit me? Were we coming to this place of no color, no gleaming beauty, no heart, no gasp and shudder of grappled flesh? Just this silent vacancy, everything covered with the gray dust of desertion? Bird, butterfly, bluebottle, burning beetle, to know them and to know, must I awake and eat them, one and all? Let them move me as they move through my famished gut? Well then, so be it. Lives of the Poets. All your busted second-hand gear piled around you, over and under you, living in the back of a pre-war Cadillac that only runs while you sleep. This and this and this. Hidden coasts masked by fog, where ocean washes over, white bone glowing dead forever in the sand. Hidden, unwritable poems like the long, blind dreams of trees. Hidden in the mind all day, these things, shimmering all day, helpless, self-sufficient, magical. This and this and this. Montaigne, December 30th, 1998. I'll be 68 tomorrow. What can I write today? Just this trifling poem. I call it a poem only because its right-hand margin is uneven. Very well, reader, herewith. Whatever rough words I may have spoken in past years about Michel de Montaigne, this afternoon, it's nearly 3 o'clock, at the merest thought of him, hot tears spring to my eyes. Tears, yes, that I never saw him, never knew him, never heard his lazy Gascon accent. Tears that I shall never sit with Montaigne in his round tower, drinking watered wine from his own vines, while we talk, while I listen. Or we might just sit, gazing out the window in comfortable silence, our 4 old feet propped up. hands of sad work. Poe shivers at Virginia's grave, still wearing his threadbare old West Point greatcoat, all he has. Hands cold, he hates his hands, too large for the hands of a gentleman. As a boy, every morning the streetcar took me past Poe's grave, that dirty corner, tiny churchyard, black iron railing, mud. A cowardly lying boy I was. Stewart hated his stubby fingers, hated them. Stewart Perkoff, dead now 15 years, jumbled in a pit of miscellaneous ashes in Marilyn Monroe's cemetery. His last beard, this is true, in a grocery bag somewhere in our closet. And I? Not even a gentleman. See, morbid confusion, spurious parallels, connections false and meretricious. Damn the hand, how I must hate the truth. We hate, we fear our hands, work them morning after morning, turn them to the task, watch them hard at it in the darkness, watch as they commit the terrible visions to page and page. Wherever the place will be, they take us there. Damned things. Hands of mud, hands of dust, hands of sad work, cold wind, and the iron gate closes.
I'm going to be reading from Cold Eye Burning at 3 a.m. And these poems are poems inspired by the eye that never sleeps and insomnia. Poems, the world asleep, where death cannot reside. And John, I give you riots and earthquakes.
The best one.
And first, let me read the poem that's on the wall at Venice, engraved in stone. Venice, holy ground, stained with the blood of poets, city which lies beneath the breasts of birds, guarded by cats. Behind every corner, the muse, angel of surprise, poems out of pavement cracks. LA riot poem, Venice, April 30th, 1992. Today, Venice is a mysterious, a lonely, a solitary, and indeed a most ghostly place. Green is the color of the stifled air. Along the promenade, the terrified palms. Only the gulls are at ease. They have their city back. Along the shore at the high tide mark, a line of black ash and red, dead ladybugs, thousands of them, their black wings splayed in death. Only one is alive. I sing to it. Ladybug, ladybug, fly away home. Your house is on fire. Your children are alone. The earth's crust feels today. As the sun sets, LA disintegrates in all the morbid shades of a fading bruise. This crimson dusk, This amber moment, Los Angeles burning, the walls cave in, the creatures perish in their cages, the names of the dead rise like mist from the bare ground. It seems to me we cannot keep the common story, struggling, straining every second to keep the sky above us, to keep the sun in the sky, to keep the dead in the earth, to keep all things where they belong. What a crushing task. Turn from the sea, it is curfew. John Thomas sits before the television. John Thomas, like a giant panda, wise in his sloth. The man who has failed to place himself in life. Success of a sort. He sits in the rocking chair and quotes L.M. Boyd. 99% of the universe is nothing. There will be no riot in Venice tomorrow, he says. Yeah, I say, if you stay in bed. Which is where everyone should be anyway. The best riots are in bed, he said. No riot? And what do you find lacking? Variety, persistence. They are a bunch of amateurs. Oh, compared to you, Hotspur, what would you do for a riot? I would give the news helicopters advance notice as to what intersection it will be, then pull Arnold Schwarzenegger out of his Mercedes and club him with Sylvester Stallone. On the television, Los Angeles, its sky the same color as smoke. I tend to take the cosmic view, he shrugs. If one accepts the current opinion on these matters, after the Big Bang, everything seems sort of dull and tame. I mean, top that. More images upon the screen, more flames, greed, anger, ignorance, our nasty little desires, flames not halted by water. I close my eyes and slip into the night. In this dream, no image, just the idea of solid immensity. The night hidden deep within the night. The flowing black water of all life's mystery. The black water slowly flowing. The clear, thin ringing of the stars. And
as Stewart would say.
Now, for the Los Angeles earthquake. 4:31 a.m., January 17th, 1994. The earth, too, is afraid. I tell you, the earth is afraid. There are far greater earthquakes in the depths through which it palpitates, far deeper black. 4:31 a.m. First the roar, then out the window I see Venice rock in the enormous unseen arms. It looks like the end of the world. I stand in the middle of the room, now a profound black. All I see are my bare white feet. Beneath them, the floor is invisible. Only a blind rage of waves, the language of catechism, a crucifixion of winds. It is as if all that exists are these black winds and my bare feet, which I am surprised to see begin to glow. Glowing, floating above a sea of endless night, the cemetery of space, night blooms of terrors. Even the breath crumbles in this tomb of blind eyes, this mirage of deepest black, this terrible hoof of God. As I watch my iridescent feet, the movement stops. Naked, fragile, I reach for my crucifix, draped only in the large black nun's cross. I now a bride of the slow, trembling eternity. The earth, too, is afraid, naked, fragile, that God is not, that God is unfathomable, that our shouts do not turn the world, that heaven and earth will be smashed in the darkness and pass away. I guess I will end with poems of ravens that are, to me, the muse. There's many muses. The ravens. One can never see a raven without hearing a poem. Like the poem, the raven can fly upside down and gives no reply to questions. In the raven's eye, a spot which disappears in the distance. A mirror in the eyes is 1,000 ravens. The raven, even with other ravens, is always by itself. The raven has tucked beneath its wings the whole world. Night is the dream of the first raven. In every raven's beak waits the high note Maria Callas sings in Tosca. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony is the black and beating iridescent breast of a raven. Once they crucified a raven. Michelangelo delivered it from marble, gently placed it against that breast, the Pietà. Van Gogh's last brushstroke was a raven's wing. Isadora, on her talons, sprang into flight. Poe is his raven. The first raven, the white raven, Emily Dickinson. A raven spins, sleeping in the womb of the world. The blinding light in the tomb is the raven. Listen, the cry of ravens, tilting the wind, turning the world, throats full of the first word, every word not yet written. Listen, the distant cry grows grows louder. In the luster of sleep, the world becomes untangled, echoing the cry of ravens.
The horn. This bed or bird, which was it, afloat on a dark ocean of memory? These bat thoughts, were they? Flitting, dipping, swerving in the night, hard to capture in any but the finest meshed of nets. But, the bat, emblem, how to say, in this house of disaster and dust. But the house of this poem, let me, please let me construct it with economy and with harmony. Well, anyhow, let's be brief. And as to harmony, in the midst, truly, of the writing, just now, outside in the darkness, someone passes, tooting harshly, inharmoniously, on a little tin horn. Well, I didn't see the someone, only heard the horn. Who knows? Too late in the day now, too dark to end as a lizard, sun-charmed on a wall. No, more like to sink into a dull dream, into torpid and decrepit oblivion, quote, in this house of disaster and dust, close quote. Do you recall the phrase? No, you see, no economy, no harmony. It is all too complicated. Mixed metaphor and lurking in dark corners, clusters of pathetic little fallacies, daring one another to dart out among the bats. And what? Well, they were called out, true, summoned by the inharmonious squeak and tootle of that horn. Economy, harmony, too late for this poem and for me. Who was it really? What player in the night passed by?